Hi guys, good afternoon and happy new year and welcome back once again to the EdWord. And in today's video, I will be bringing you a video essay while I give you all a maybe not so brief, but an overall rough summary of all the great horror movies we have to look forward to this year. 2025 is finally here, and with that, we have multiple exciting new horror movies to look forward to, ranging across from all the studios, all in various stages of production, development, and/or filming. Most of them are underway, being filmed as we speak, I believe, as they are all slated to come out later this year at some point. So I will be going by film, breaking it down movie by movie to give you a rough idea of what we have in store for us. So I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to see, because I'm real excited to talk about it. So thanks for sticking around, and let's get started. So starting with the one that's coming out, the very first horror movie, or one of the first horror movies coming out this year, is Wolfman from Blumhouse and Universal Pictures, and writer-director Leigh Whannell, who gave us the wonderful reimagining of The Invisible Man several years ago. We are now getting a brand new retelling of Wolfman in the vein of the Universal Monsters, a franchise I hold very near and dear to my heart. I'm very excited about seeing this, as I hope you guys are as well. It comes out in about 2 weeks. I'm sure tickets go on sale soon if they haven't already, but I am very much looking forward to this. It looks exciting, it looks scary, and it sounds like it's going to be a good old back-to-basics horror film that the director teased and promised in recent interviews, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Up next, we have another Insidious film that is supposedly in the works and slated for a release date of August 29th of this year. What we don't know is if this is meant to be, if this is a release date for the Insidious spinoff that was announced a short while back, starring Mandy Moore and Kumail Nanjiani, if this is their movie, or if this is meant to be a different, separate Insidious film altogether. The latest Insidious film, Insidious The Red Door, was quite entertaining, quite scary, and was a big box office hit. So I think Blumhouse and Sony want to keep this franchise going for as long as they can, as it's been very popular for the past decade. Now, what remains to be seen is if this release date is going to be applied to that Insidious spinoff, or if it's for a sixth unrelated film that we simply don't know anything about yet. But what we do know is that it is coming this August this year at some point, so that is very exciting to know. Up next, we have Hard Eyes, which is another fairly recent horror movie coming out next month, February 7th. It looks like a new slasher film from Sony Pictures, and it looks like from the premise, a masked killer wearing a mask with hard eyes on it is going to be stalking and killing couples on the most romantic day of the year, Valentine's Day. The movie is called Hard Eyes and comes out February 7th. We know very little about this movie except Mason Gooding from the recent Scream films will be one of the stars in it, along with Jordana Brewster, who starred in such films as The Faculty and the Fast and the Furious franchise. Apparently, one of the producers of the Scream films produced this movie, and I don't know who wrote or directed it, but I'm very excited for it, and a full trailer should be dropping relatively soon, in about the next week or so, as the movie itself is supposed to come out in about a month. So Hard Eyes looks like a lot of fun. Up next, also from Sony Columbia Pictures, we have the long-awaited, highly anticipated 28 Years Later, the sequel to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. We are finally getting this movie after what has felt like forever. And what's really exciting is that this film not only comes out this summer, June 20th to be exact, but it is also meant to kickstart a new trilogy of films, starting with 28 Years Later and then to be followed by a sequel in January 2026 called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. And it's one of the most viewed horror trailers of all time. The official trailer that dropped for this movie several weeks ago, if not a month ago, and it looks awesome, exciting, and scary. The rage infected are back, and it looks awesome. So I'm looking forward to this one a lot. And of course, next up, we have Megan 2.0. That's right, the horror sequel to the very popular 2023 horror movie Megan that came out about 2 years ago is due to hit theaters this summer, June 27th, just a week after 28 years later comes out. And this is a very anticipated, exciting horror movie as Megan quickly took audiences by storm and became an overnight horror icon only 2 years ago when her first horror movie came out. Now we have a second film to look forward to from Universal Pictures and Blumhouse Productions. I'm very excited for this. I enjoyed Megan like most of you, so I'm very excited to see what Megan 2.0 has in store for us. And there's a lot to look forward to here with just the sheer violence and gore factor to be considered. And then next up is one of my most anticipated horror movies of the year, the legacy sequel to the classic slasher film, I Know What You Did Last Summer. This movie remains officially untitled, but it's a safe bet it might follow the leads of Halloween 2018 and Scream 2022 simply by being called I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I'll wait for an official title reveal before I can speak to that. But this movie is currently filming underway in Australia. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt are both confirmed to return, reprising their roles from the original film and its respective sequel. And this movie, I believe, is meant to be a direct sequel to the first two movies and not that god-awful I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which had absolutely nothing to do with the first two films. Up next, we have a movie slated for a late October release. I don't know the exact release date off the top of my head, but it is coming out this October at some point. The Black Phone 2, sequel to the horror hit The Black Phone from about 3 years ago. The Black Phone was a really fun horror movie. It took an really interesting premise and made it very spooky and scary. Excellent performances from Ethan Hawke and the lead kid, of course. I believe they are both expected to return for this film. Considering how the first one ended, I'm very curious to see what path or story they're going to take, especially when you consider the supernatural elements from the first film and how it could easily apply to the second film and perhaps even take it a step further or enhance the story. I'm looking forward to it, and it looks like it's well underway with filming. And then another highly anticipated horror movie, for me at least, is the sequel to 2023's big horror breakout hit, Thanksgiving. That's right, shortly after the first Thanksgiving movie came out about 2 years ago, a sequel was shortly confirmed, and that sequel is coming later this year, presumably November 2025. Filming is set to begin this March, so in about a couple of months, cameras will be rolling. I would imagine that characters who survived the first Thanksgiving will be returning to play their respective parts in the second movie. I don't know if the person who ended up being the killer, the John Carver persona, if they will be returning or not, as I'm sure they won't be confirming that casting outright or if they'll keep it a secret. But I'm very excited and very interested to see where they'll go with the sequel, as I absolutely loved Thanksgiving when it first came out. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a horror movie season without at least one Conjuring film. That's right, the fourth and presumably final Conjuring film, titled The Conjuring Last Rites, is coming September 5th of this year in early fall. It is, I say presumably the last one because everyone involved claims it'll be the last Conjuring film they make, but depending on how well it does, how much money it makes, we could very well get a couple more sequels later down the line, or perhaps more spin-offs like The Nun or Annabelle. But I love the Conjuring films and its respective spin-offs. They're all a lot of fun, super scary, and fun to watch. So I'll be curious and interested and excited to see what The Conjuring Last Rites has to offer. And I've especially come to enjoy the works of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, as they are excellent together. And finally, a movie that has been long in the works for almost 5 years now, only recently, back in December, got confirmed with a release date for December 25th of 2025. A new Anaconda movie is coming, and this movie will obviously be more of a horror comedy than straight pure up horror, but both Paul Rudd and Jack Black, who will be starring the film, have teased the horror comedy balance that the film is bound to have, and I am so insanely excited for this film, and I was so unbelievably happy when they officially confirmed and announced it a few weeks ago. Production seems to be underway, and of course, besides Jack Black and Paul Rudd being involved, the guy who directed the hilarious meta comedy The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent starring Nicolas Cage is directing this. Well, guys, that's it for horror movies we have to look forward to this year in 2025. As you can tell, there's a lot of them, and I am super excited for each and every one of them. I'll post the release dates down below in the description for the ones that do have confirmed release dates and titles as well. Not all of these movies are officially titled, nor do they have release dates as of yet, but we do know that they are all coming respectively later this year. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this video informative and somewhat entertaining. I'm very excited for all of these horror films, and I'm going to watch every single one of them. And for other news and coverage about any of the movies I mentioned here, I will definitely try to cover them as best as I can on this channel. Which of these horror movies are you looking forward to the most? Sound off down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And of course, until next time, what's your favorite scary movie?